We all know the tides that ebb and flood daily, essential rhythms of life along the edges of Chesapeake and Atlantic. But there is another, grander tide, the tide of light. It crests each June and bottoms out in darkest December, when winter officially begins. Too many of us head indoors then, store the canoe, winterize the outboard, missing winter's compensations. It's an elemental time. Bare trees reveal the great nests of bald eagles along wooded edges. Marsh grass dies back to expose bleached bones and shells and arrowheads. The clearing water reveals fat oysters in the shallows. Great blue herons begin their primeval courtship displays soon after Valentine's Day. Razor-keen air brings dawn's colors up like thunder. The rich, low-angled light of late afternoons sets the marshes to shimmering and beautifies the commonest waterfront villages with a Vermeer-like glow. Winter music on the bay is a haunting mix. The quaver of loons, the sass of mallards, the calliope gabble of sea ducks. Loveliest of all, the wild baying of tundra swans, at ease after migrating 4,000 miles from Alaska and the Yukon. The swans' pure white bodies will grace the coves and fields and marshy edges of the bay region until they return in March to the tundra. For Tommy Calloway's family on Maryland's eastern shore, it's a time when their Nanticoke River farms are harvested and they can ready their nets to fish. For naturalist Curtis Badger, it's a time of wonder as light swelling tide draws great flights of shorebirds north along his native Virginia coastline. Also time to probe the coastal mudflats for tasty clams as the daily tides recede. Theirs are voices from the edge of land and water, from the edges of the seasons, moving on the grand tide of light.
We're pretty fortunate, I guess. We live in an area around the Nanticoke. We have Rewasco Creek on one side and Quantica Creek on the other. We farm all around. We've got land from Route 50 to around Mardella, Hebron. As far as the fishing and the farming, it just works out great together because we're located in an area we can do both. We fish from end of September to July. From Vienna Bridge in Nanticoke downriver to, we'll go below Retipkin Creek, just above Nanticoke Harbor. And we'll take up, tie up in July, August, and then we put them back the end of September, October, according when the farming slacks off so we can go back doing some fishing. You have different areas that may be a little stronger on perch. You'll have some areas a little stronger on rockfish, or you'll have an area that's stronger on mudshad. Right now, this time of year, in the end of February, March, we're looking for perch, catfish, and mudshad. We use flake nets and pound nets. A flake net is a hoop net. It's a fiberglass or wooden hoops. Consists of two throats. The fish come in the first throat, and then they go through the second one. They can't get back out. Our flake nets, we want our second throat small, mainly to keep the fish in, because the type of fish we're fishing for, perch is he'll go back out on you. And you want to be able to keep him in there. Pound net is much bigger. We run a leader or a hedging line from shore out to the depth of water we want, and that's from 9 to 15 feet of water. We use pine poles. We've used gum. Oak you don't want, it's too heavy. Gum is okay one short season, but they'll break off. Pine is the best. Also, a pine pole gives you a lot of flexibility. He's got a lot of bend in him. In the Nanticoke, we turn our fish. We have a back that makes turn the fish, and we will set, most of our sets are fished on ebb tide. We set only a few flood. And that's just, the fish seem to turn and go better that way. And these are all live nets. You can't just set nets anywhere in the river. It's certain spots that will catch better, and if you move it as much as 100 feet, it probably will not catch right, or it will mulch up on you. We've fished on the Nanticoke River for 4 generations, and I got a second grandson, so that'd be the 5th generation if both of them will fish for us.
It's very rare to have a natural system in its original state as it was when it was created. I think it's important to have these places. I just love going out there. It's just a great experience. I think clams, it's really an excuse to go out there and do that. It's almost like treasure hunting. You go out on this tidal flat at low tide, you have this world there that was covered by water an hour or 2 hours ago, and all of a sudden you can see all of these wormholes and shellfish and everything else that lives in this environment. My name is Curtis Badger. I've lived on the Virginia coast for all of my adult life and just love being out there, especially on the tidal flats at low tide clamming. And the clam feeds by sucking in nutrients suspended in the water. And when they do this, they leave little holes in the tidal flat that we call clam sign. So when you find this, you have what we call a pick. It's a long wooden handle with a little rake with 2 or 3 tines, and you scratch around about an inch deep. If there's a clam there, you'll hear it and feel it right away. But what complicates things is there are a lot of animals, worms and things like that, that put holes in the tidal substrate. If the hole is perfect, spherical, it's probably not a clam, because the 2 siphons that the clam has are attached, but when they show up on the tidal flat, they look more like a keyhole. They're not perfectly round. So if you find the keyhole, it's chances a little bit better there's a clam there. I grew up here, and part of my early upbringing was going out with my father, with my parents, out to the barrier islands. And at that time, thinking that this is nothing special at all. I think I didn't really take it seriously until I was probably in my 20s. And I picked up the local newspaper one day, and there's this headline about a developer from New York City has bought 2 or 3 of the barrier islands with the intention of building a golf course and hotels and condos. At that time, I realized that these islands are really a special place in all of the eastern United States. 50 or 60 miles of uninterrupted barrier island beach, just as it was when the first blue-eyed dandy landed back in the 1600s. It's a very rare landscape that we have here. Is what they call a little neck or cherry stone. These are the larger ones like this are good for making clam chowder or linguine with clam sauce, clam pie, and that kind of thing. These are best either raw or just steamed open and then served with a little drawn butter.